Thank you, Abby, and thank you, members. Good afternoon, members, and welcome to this meeting of the Sanquhar Common Good Fund Subcommittee, which is being live streamed and recorded. The recording will be made available on the Council website for public listening. Members may notice that when calling members to speak, I will refer to them formally and using their title, for example, Councillor Smith, so that it's clear who are councillors and who, by the process of elimination, are officers. We are all remote participants today, so please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you are not addressing the meeting, writing speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. Know that you'll be in the hall, but if you're in the hall, you can do this on your iPhone or iPad. Please do not repeat contributions already made by other members. No material should be posted in the chat function if it's intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time or write leave in the Teams chat function and then join when you rejoin the meeting so that we can track or can keep track on whether the meeting is quorate. All members should speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions, and when referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions on areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative to a recommendation. And that seems to be the end of my preamble. I should ask now for apologies, and there is my approval of members' remote participation. So Fiona, can you please provide the sediment and indicating who is participating and any apologies, please? And I confirm my agreement to participating members named as participating remotely. Fiona?
Yep, thanks, Councillor Dempster. 3 members present today, yourself, Councillor Beretti and Councillor Slater, who's deputising for Councillor Andrew Wood, who's absent, along with our community rep, Ronnie Johnson, who's also given his apologies.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Fiona is our governance officer for today, and welcome Councillor Slater to the first meeting of the Sanquhar Common Good Fund. Thank you so much for stepping in at the late time to deputise for Councillor Wood. So, agenda item 2 is declaration of interest. The members have any statement of connection or declaration of interest to declare based on the definition, statement of connection. For transparency reasons, members may wish to make a public statement. Declaration of interest, members would now require to leave the meeting for that agenda item. Does anyone have a declaration of interest or statement of connection? Thank you, members. In that case, I will proceed. The agenda item 3, minute of the previous meeting on the 1st of October 2024. Members, this minute is simply for noting. Are we happy to note this minute? I'll take silence as agreement.
Yeah, happy to note, Jim.
Thanks very much, Councillor Beretti and Councillor Slater. Thank you. To move on to the first agenda item on the papers today, agenda item 4, the development of a transport hub car park at Car Park, Simpson Road, Sanquhar. Reports approved by Transport and Operations Manager. Our first report is regarding the development of a transport hub in the car park at Simpson Road in Sanquhar. We have Sarah Jane Alsop, project manager, Living Up Fund Transport here on Teams to answer any questions. So members, have you any questions for Sarah Jane? This relates to not only the text, but also the map that's been provided or contained within your paper. It looks like this might be an easy journey for you, Sarah Jane.
No, I've got my hand up.
Councillor Beretti.
So you have right, Councillor Beretti, please.
Oh, yes. Right. Thank you, Sarah Jane, for this report. Looking at page 15 on what is actually going to be in the hub, and looking at the concept of the hub, and it's in respect to a lot of the other things that we've been discussing lately in council. I've no difficulties with the 5 bullet points that are there, but one of the things which I thought, I don't know if you've investigated it or may have considered, is have you considered a solar or photovoltaic photovoltaic carport, where you have the photovoltaic systems, photovoltaic panels that feed into a battery, because that would be the next, for me, the next obvious thing to be looking at would be to have battery storage, but photovoltaic used to generate the battery power. Did you look at that?
Tony, I'm quite happy to Sarah Jane respond to this, but remember, this is simply the Sanquhar Common Good Subcommittee freeing up land. This is an opportunity to discuss the investment, the infrastructure, whatever. If you look at the recommendations, it's just note the undertaking, note the no representations, and agree to propose change of use. I'm happy to have Sarah Jane help you, but we can't get involved in the detail because that's not for today, and that's not the role of the Common Good Fund.
No, I agree, Chair. But if Sarah was happy to answer, I just got caught up in all the meetings that we had today.
And I'm interested as well. We'll have that opportunity later on in the committee process, I'm sure. But if Sarah Jane can quickly respond, that would be great.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Beretti. I can confirm that the building that will house the cycle storage and will form the site of the transport hub will have a sedum roof and solar panelling. All 9 of the transport hubs that are being built to energy efficient standards and will have, as I say, sedum roofs and solar panels. We haven't considered photovoltaic panels for the actual car parking spaces. The timescales of this project have been incredibly tight, and we need to have the UK government's funding defrayed by March 2026. We would have encountered further planning constraints, etc., had we opted for a project that used photovoltaic carports over our actual our car parking spaces. So excellent idea and potentially one for the future, but due to the tight timescales of this one, we've been unable to consider it as a viable option for this project.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much, Chair, for letting me ask that question. But in essence, I agree with the proposal anyway.
Thank you very much, Councillor Beretti. It's really helpful. Councillor Slater, did you want?
Yes, I just like to. Is this obviously these chargers are for public use? Is that what they are? We're talking about car chargers here. Are we talking about that? I don't have an agenda in front of me, so this is the reason I'm asking the question. For some reason, my computer is giving me emails from 2024 and 23 today. I have no idea why it's doing that, so I have no agenda in front of me. I just asked is it for public use for charging local vehicles, or is it for transport purposes, like so? Electric buses or anything like that at all? Is it for that type of use or not? Or I'm in the wrong track altogether?
Right, on the right track, David. Again, Sarah Jane will reply. I think what we're saying is that the transport hub, it's a public use cycles, public use, motor vehicles, additional car charging spaces for public use, etc., etc. Have you anything to add to that, Sarah Jane?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Slater. Yes, Councillor Dempster is correct. The facilities that will be added as part of the transport hub are very similar to the ones discussed at a meeting with yourself in relation to a site at Langham. So we're looking at a building with cycle storage, cycle hire, vehicles, car club vehicles for hire, cycle repair stations, but also in the instance of Sanquhar, we are looking at provision of one extra 7 kilowatt dual charger and a 50 kilowatt rapid charger to add to the existing public car charging facilities at the car park at Simpson Road. There currently isn't a rapid charger, so that's going to be a boost to the local facilities within Sanquhar, and also the 7 kilowatt dual charger will part of that will be a dedicated bay for the higher car club vehicles, so as not to take away from public availability of charging points.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Sarah Jane.
50 kilowatt, obviously you need three-phase electricity for that, so obviously that'll be a problem. 7 kilowatt, it's okay maybe, but it would take 6 hours probably to charge a car at 7 kilowatt. The 50 kilowatt one could do one in about 35-40 minutes, something like that. So, but I understand the logistics of that, getting the 50 watt charger there, and the Scottish Power or whatever it is will have to supply that for you, I think.
Aye, but we're not discussing that today.
Okay,
as you
sorry
said
about
earlier.
that.
It's just about releasing the land for the use as set out in the papers. So if we can go to the recommendations we are asked to in 2.1, note the undertaking of an 8-week statutory consultation period on proposed changes in use of land within Sanquhar Common Good Fund, as required by Section 104 of the Community Empowerment Scotland Act 2015, and as detailed in paragraphs 4.3 to 4.4. 2.2, note that no representations were received to this consultation process, as detailed in paragraph 4.5. And 2.3, and already Councillor Beretti has indicated, I'm hoping Councillor Slater will agree, to the proposed change of use of the areas of common good land as detailed in paragraph 4.5 and shown in Appendix 1 and Appendix 2. So are we happy to agree and note as set out in the papers?
Yes,
No,
Chair. I agree, it's a good idea.
Thank you very much. And Sarah Jane, thank you very much for being present today. I'm sure we'll call on you again at other committee meetings in the foreseeable future for further information and detailed explanations. Thanks very much, Sarah Jane. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We move on now to the agenda item number 5, which is Sanquhar Common Good Property Update, report approved by the Interim Assistant Director, Transport and Infrastructure. Our next report, members, is a property update on Sanquhar Common Good Property. We have Colin Freeman with us to answer any questions. Members, do you have any questions for Colin? And Colin's obviously our council officer. If you don't have a whole list for Colin, well, in case you have, I'll ask Colin first, just to address some points I alerted him to prior to today's meeting in order that he might have an opportunity to research them. So the first question is, you'll see by the report that Nissy Wanderers have a 21-year lease in Lorimer Park, which ends in November this year. I presume, and Colin will tell me whether it's right or no, that the main purpose of the lease is the buildings that they have located within the perimeter of Lorimer Park, and that currently we receive £500 per annum rent for the lease in Lorimer Park. And what I've said to Colin in the message, or Colin would receive it, I sent it directly to Colin. I believe that if the income is realised from a common good asset, that income should be paid into the common good fund. And I'd be interested to know if that's Colin's or the council's intention, and who agrees the continuation lease if there is a continuation to be had, and who decides on the amount of money chargeable on that lease. I have a number of questions. I'll just do a minute at a time, and that'll give Colin time to maybe catch his breath. So, Colin, on the first question, please.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the lease for Lorimer Park, correct, it's just about to come to expiry date. Neither party has served notice, so it'll just continue on tacit relocation at the moment. With the support of colleagues from Leisure and Sport, I'm meeting with Nestill Wanderers on the 12th of September to understand what they want to do next, whether they want to continue with their existing ground lease for which they've built their porta cabins and they've got access rights for parking, or whether they want to extend their lease a little bit further to include other terms and conditions or even other bits of land. If it's the latter, then that would be a change from the current agreement. Therefore, that will have to come back to members for their approval. And what we'll do then is we'll put before members what the request is, what the value is, and let members have their consideration.
Okay, and in terms of where the money goes, because I don't think at the moment Sanquhar Common Good receives it.
Okay, Chair, I'll double check that because any income generated from common good asset must be allocated to the relevant common good fund. So I'll double check that for you.
Brilliant. Well, not to get you hot under the collar, but I'm absolutely certain there's no payment been made in the last 21 years. So we'll be owed £10,000 for somebody.
That'll be part of the conversation. I'll do my homework before I meet them.
Thank you. That's great, Colin. So, and you will update us either at the next Common Good Fund, or if there's a need to update members more rapidly than that, will you be kind enough to include all members, including the Community Council representative, who unfortunately isn't with us today?
Certainly will, Chair.
Thanks very much, Colin.
Okay, ask Chair, is that work out about just £40 a month for the lease? Is that what we're talking about here? Is that £10 a week or something? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's right. Aye.
Is that if the lease is renewed? Is there any situation where the money maybe could be increased slightly, or not?
I think that's what Colin's saying, because the lease is up for renewal, and so far we haven't heard, we being Colin and the council, haven't heard from Nestill Wanderers. He's obliged to raise the matter with them, because theoretically, if the lease ends in November and don't renew it, then they don't have a lease, therefore they've no right to the porta cabins to be there. So part of the discussion, you're right, will be about fees and charges and whether or no it's still a reasonable amount. And I would guess, and I'm not speaking for Colin, and 20 years ago, who knows what the sympathies might have been. But I think because they're a community group, a voluntary group, we tend not to put pressure on these kind of groups for huge amounts of money, but recognise that there is an income stream to be derived because they are taking advantage of council-owned land or common good land that the council manages on behalf of the Common Good Fund. So yes, Colin's conversation will be around whether or not they want to renew the lease, whether or not the fees have to be increased, and whether or not they want to take advantage of some of the other land that's in and around Lorimer Park that form part of the wider Common Good holding. So you're right, that'll all happen, David.
So it's really just a peppercorn rent at the moment. That's what we're still.
Yes, that's what it is, more or less. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next one Colin has dealt with in part. It was about Cooper's Close, which is part of the Common Good Holdings. That's down the side of the Customer Services Centre. That's where many years ago the Borough Gardener had his store and plant growing greenhouse, and it was taken down because it was a risk to public health. So we have Cooper's Close, but it's now vacant land only, but the Wheatley tenant above seems to be in charge of the access code, and that has been sort of resolved by Colin, and I'm grateful to that. The only other element to that, and it'll be for Colin to convey maybe to Nick Lane, for a number of years now, I have asked at varying junctures for an investigation to be carried out on the land to the rear of Cooper's Close and the Customer Services Centre, because at one time, Sanquhar Town Council owned 100, 102, 104 and 106 High Street. And to the rear of these properties, there are 4 gardens, and they're quite distinct, or garden areas. And for some strange reason, Wheatley Group own 3 of them, and we only own 1. And members here will know, I'm sure certainly Councillor Barretti will know, that Sanquhar Enterprise Company occupy the library at the moment, thanks to the goodwill of Dumfries and Galloway Council. But we are looking to an asset transfer, and with it we would want garden ground. So there is a need to resolve that matter at an early juncture, because it's been ongoing for years. And I'll maybe write to Colin with Sanquhar Common Good Committee's agreement, asking that as a matter of urgency, this particular element of the discussion might be addressed, and to reinstate the land that we should own back to council ownership. That's great. And if members are happy with that, I'm sure Colin's already taken a note of that. And the next one I wrote about was the toll booth in Sanquhar, and I'm quite, oh, Colin, did you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Just to add a little to what you've just said, as a council, we know there are a few anomalies with DGHP and now Wheatley Group properties, and just collecting information from across the region to engage with them directly and start to sort these and iron these anomalies out. And I'll now include that on that list, Chair.
Colin, I'm very grateful to you for that, and I'm sure members will be delighted to hear that. And if we get a resolution soon, that would be much appreciated. So thanks for that information, Colin. The next one's the Sanquhar toll booth and whether it might be considered to be a common good asset. And I did write to Colin and say that this building features in the Sanquhar Common Good accounts, and it has done for the last 20 odd years that I know of. So therefore, in my opinion, for what my opinions were, it's considered by the council to be a common good asset, because it's the council that produces the balance sheet. And there's also a little piece of ground at the rear of the toll booth that certainly was common good at one time. It was a former blacksmith shop, I think. So I don't know whether you want to say anything, Colin, or whether you just want to accept that that's a view and you investigate that as part of the discussion about what is common good land and what's not.
Thank you, Chair. If I may, I think the position with the toll booth is that we're struggling to find written evidence that of the title, so we can definitively confirm that it does form part of the common good, and I appreciate the history of it. There is an ongoing piece of work with the Dumfries and Galloway Common Good and Trust Review Group. And what I'll take back is the information from today's meeting around the toll booth, which we're having a conversation on in the group, and some of the other properties and assets that you mentioned in your email. And we'll add that into the conversation at that review group to try and determine what we feel is common good and what isn't. And I think what also would be very useful for the group is to understand if some of the assets that we have listed or not listed have local names also. So maybe it's listed as one thing in the title, but the local population know as something else. And finally, if I may, Chair, with me coming up to Sanquhar on the 12th of September, it might be worthwhile me taking a wander around Sanquhar to understand what these properties and these assets are, and then take that information back to the review group as well, if that's possible.
That would be absolutely great. I'm just checking to see my diary to see if I'm free, if I can maybe offer to escort you around. Just give me 2 seconds.
I think it might be a Friday afternoon I'm popping up.
Yeah. I'm free. So if you want to invite me along, Colin, I'd be happy to visit you or visit with you to some of these locations to see how they fit in with your thinking. That would be wonderful if you're willing to do that.
Perfect, Chair, thank you.
Very much appreciated, Colin. That then brings me just to a couple of other things.
Jim, got my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Tony.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting. Points there that you've made, because I know that there are nothing to do with Sanquhar, but I know that there are other issues along in the whole of Ward 7. So if it's okay, Chair and Colin, would you be able to extend that invitation to myself, at least that way, for any future reference? I've actually also got that information, and because I'm clearly, I'll learn from Jim's knowledge as well.
I'd be pleased to see Tony and Councillor Wood if he wants to come along. That'd be great.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Tony. That was Councillor Beretti, by the way. So the next, you've probably dealt with then the remaining issues that I wanted to raise, Colin, which were the former McNabb leases, which we sold to Buccleuch a number of years ago. We use what's called Matthew's Folly as a ceremonial section, and it is definitely regarded as common good by the local community, as is the old Stackyard Dumping Stone, and we'll include that in our visit if you're content with that. I'll just give you a better knowledge of what we're trying to say and what you might, or the subcommittee you're involved with, make a determination on. The last thing is, well, the two last things. The Weird, which is a former curling pond, is considered to be common good, and we receive rental every year for a hire from Stirling's Fun Fair as a community contribution in Queensberry Square. And whether or no we receive that money because of disruption to the community or because it's part of the common good will be something we might determine. But Colin, I'm happy with that. If you're willing to take these items away from the committee today, and if you're happy to meet with Tony and myself and Councillor Wood if he wishes to attend, that would be very much appreciated. I look forward to that, Colin.
Happy to do that, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or observations before we go to the recommendations?
No.
Okay, we go to the recommendation, which says we're asked to note 2.1, the properties that form the Sanquhar Common Good property portfolio as detailed at paragraph 4.1. 2.2, the properties that are currently leased to tenants as detailed at paragraph 4.1. And 2.3, the valuation, insurance condition and repairs information for each property as detailed in paragraph 4.1. There is something I should add that I omitted to. Sanquhar Common Good owns a piece of land called Goose Dubs, and there is an expression of interest in that, but it is very poorly maintained, and despite having received numerous complaints about the state of the land, nothing has been done to date. So can you include that in your list of visitations, please, Colin? And we'll have a look at that when we're there. So members happy to note 2.1, 2.2, 2.3?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. Move on to agenda item 6, which is Sanquhar Common Good Final Outturn 2024-25 and Financial Plan 2025-26. This is a report approved by Head of Thriving Communities. Moving on, members, our next report is the Final Outturn and Financial Plan for 2025-26. It's good to see, members, that we have a surplus of £15,470.71
That's very good.
last year, and this will be added to the cash resource of the fund. Fiona Dobney is here to take any questions. And I know, Fiona, that you prepare this report with the support of the Finance Officer of the Council. So if you have any questions and you're able to take these back to Finance on our behalf, I'd be grateful. So the questions will be for Fiona, but since she's not a Finance Officer, she'll simply seek clarification for us and respond back by email. I did have an apology from Community Councillor Ronnie Johnson, who couldn't join us today because of personal circumstances. He asked a few three financial questions, and I will simply forward them to Common Good Fund members for their information and a note when the meeting concludes today. Ronnie Johnson did, the Community Council representative, did receive an appropriate response, and I will simply share that with you. So, Councillor Beretti on finance.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Chair. On page 23, Fiona, where you got the return on balances and 4.5, noted that the loan interest fund rate of 4.23. Now, I'm not going to assume, but I would imagine that is that based on the Bank of England lending rate, because will that go down as the Bank of England lending rate has in fact gone down? So is that something that is likely to happen?
I'm not sure, Councillor Beretti, but what I'll do is I'll ask colleagues in finance and get the appropriate response to you.
Right, okay, thank you.
And I think maybe on the back of that, Councillor Beretti, if we can reinvest some of that money at a higher interest rate, that's something that finance might consider for us. But that, if you're happy, we can include that in part of the question for Fiona to take to finance with a view to getting a reply in due course.
Yeah, Chair. On the back of what you said, I know that there are various financial packages that pay a few percentage points above the Bank of England base rate, but I'm not entirely certain how feasible it is to get access to them. But that would be, along with what you just said, I think that would be interesting to do that.
Yeah, good. Thanks very much, Tony. Are you able to encapsulate that in a message, Fiona, to finance, and we'll get a response in due course? And I take it, well, either, and we'll leave it to your discretion, Fiona, whether to send us a response and that be the end of it, or whether to include the response in part of the note of business for the next Common Good meeting. So in the minute it will say governance was asked to provide an explanation. Here's the explanation. So I'll let you decide which.
Yep, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm content with the response and with the information contained within the report. So if we are happy, can we agree the final outturn statement for 2024-25 as detailed in Appendix 1? 2.2, agree the financial plan for 2025-26 as set in Appendix 2, and agree the income and expenditure account and balance sheet to 31st March 2025 as detailed in Appendix 3.
Agreed.
Members were happy with that?
Yep, happy, agreed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councillor Beretti and Councillor. We move on to agenda item number 7, which is the Sanquhar Common Good micro grants, and this is a report approved by Head of Thriving Communities. Our final report is relating to the micro grants that are distributed on behalf of our behalf. Our final report is relating to the micro grants from the Common Good Fund, which are distributed on our behalf by the Community Council. It is clear to see that a good number of groups and individuals benefit from the micro grants, and I would like to thank the Community Council on behalf of this subcommittee for all their work on this. Fiona, do you have any comments to add?
Just to agree with what you said there, Councillor Dempster, Sanquhar Community Council do a great job in distributing the grants and also sending their feedback information to the Common Good.
Thanks very much for that, Fiona. And as members can see on page 33 of the document, there's quite a diverse group benefiting, and it's Common Good money, quite rightly, distributed to local communities. So Again, I'm content. Councillor Beretti, Councillor Slater, any questions?
No, no questions. I'm content with the report, Chair.
Thank you. In that case, we're asked to note the success of the Royal Borough of Sanquhar Community Council in disbursing the micro grant fund during the financial year 2024-25. As you've written 54.
54.
As detailed in the paragraph 4.2, and to the application made to the micro grant fund of the Royal Borough of Sanquhar Community Council are detailed in the appendix. So we're grateful to Sanquhar Community Council for their help in this matter. Very much appreciated, and thanks again to them. That moves us on to agenda item 6. Any other business deemed urgent by the chair due to the need for a decision. I have no urgent business, so that concludes the meeting today. Can I thank you all for your contributions and for your presence and assistance today. Thanks very much, members. That includes, and officers, that includes the business for today. Concludes the business for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.